In this video we are going to make savoury scones, and I'm going to demonstrate to you step by step on how you are going to do it. So you're going to put your flour into a bowl like what I've done there. You can use different types of flours. I've got some wholemeal and spelt flour here. I am then going to take my butter, going to break it up in small pieces, and we are going to rub the butter into the self-raising flour with our fingertips. It will take you about 5 minutes to do that. We use our fingertips because the palms of our hands would be too warm and it will melt the butter, and then we're going to end up with very soft, doughy, bread-like structure to our scones. So we rub it in with our fingers, lift up, and then it falls down into the bowl. So in between our fingertips. It needs to look like small breadcrumbs. You want to work quite quick with it. You don't want to do that kneading it and pressing it together. So you need to rub with your fingertips, and it will look like fine breadcrumbs. Never use your palms because it will become too hot. Butter works better than margarine. Margarine sometimes has lots of water in it, and it can result in a sticky dough. So this is almost done. If you take your bowl and swing it around, you will see that the big lumps of butter would come to the surface. Right, that's ready now. It looks like breadcrumbs. This is ready now for my liquid and my extra ingredients. So I'm going to add some cheese to mine. So I've got my grated cheese, and I'm going to put that in. Use a palette knife and my hands a little bit and just stir it through. Now we need to add our liquid. So for our recipe we are using buttermilk. If you don't have buttermilk, you can use milk and add a bit of lemon juice to it, or you can have half amount of yogurt and a half amount of milk. So I've measured off my buttermilk in a measuring jug, and now I'm going to add a whole egg to it. I'm going to use a little whisk, and I'm going to whisk it up. And this mixture is now going to be added to my flour. Do not add it all at once, because you don't want to end up with too soft dough. You can add either or rather add more liquid later, but you can't take the liquid out. So I'm using my palette knife, I'm not using my hands, and I'm bringing it all together. If you don't have a palette knife, a normal butter knife will work as well. Scones is very delicate, and you don't want to knead it, otherwise you will end up with bread dough. So you really want to handle it as little as possible. Whoops, chucking it all out of the bowl. Let me just feel. I'm just going to feel what it feels like. So I've got quite a bit of liquid left still, but actually my scone is the right texture. So now it's going to be time to just give it a little bit of a knead, not too much. That's basically it. And we are going to cut out the rounds. Now we're not using a rolling pin going to put a bit of flour on your work surface, and you're literally going to just pat it down with your fingers. So you don't want your scones to be too flat, otherwise you end up with biscuits. We want it about 1.5 to 2 centimeters thick. Okay, then we're going to use our cutter, and we're going to cut it out. And don't go and cut right in the middle, because that's a waste of dough, scone dough. My first one. Then we're going to take the leftover dough, and we're just going to put it together, but not over kneading it. Once again, pat it out. And you will see when you've baked this that the dough that you've put together later will have a different texture, because we handle it more. We really don't want to handle scones a lot. Okay. Now it needs to go onto our baking tray. We are going to glaze it. But what you want to do is you want to just hold it in between the edges of the palms of your hands and just give it a little bit of a twirl, and that will lift up the sides that was pressed down when you cut it out. Now we're going to glaze it. We're going to glaze it with the leftover buttermilk and egg mixture, and you just want to do it lightly on the top. You don't want it to run over on the sides, because then it will make streaks, and it prevents your scone from rising properly. Don't want too much on it. I've got a bit much on there. They're now all ready to go into the oven. So at 180 degrees we are going to bake them for about 15 minutes.